This 7-in-1 USB hub has a pretty cool secret. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm checking out this. This is really cool. This is the OmniCase Pro from JSAUX, and it is a 7-in-1 USB-C hub, but it has a secret compartment that when you pop it off, you can see it has all sorts of emergency cables and adapters and everything. Here's a close-up so you can see how it all neatly fits on the lid. It's USB-C to USB-C, USB-C to Lightning, a USB-C to USB 3 adapter, a USB-C to micro USB adapter, a SIM removal tool, and space for a spare SIM card for those of you that find that you need to switch SIM cards on your smartphone or maybe even on your tablet. All of that neatly in the lid. You put it back on and you don't even have to think about it. It's a magnetic catch, and now you can just use the hub. So let's look at the hub. 1 gig Ethernet and HDMI. It supports 4K HDMI. It has USB-C. It supports 100 watt PD charging or power delivery, although it takes a little bit of the power to actually run the hub. We'll see that in a second. On one side is the USB-C, and that is going to be, I'm pretty sure that's the input. We'll experiment a little bit. It could do with, yep, actually that is the input on the side. There are labels on the bottom, although they're extremely hard to read. And then there's 2 USB 3 connections on the side, both of which can deliver 7.5 watts of power. So that's great if you need to charge devices off of that. And an SD card and a micro SD card. So let's load this thing up and plug it in. So first off, with the micro SD card, as with all of these, this one of the errors in the way they designed this is it's really hard to know the orientation, but basically you put it with the electrical connectors facing upward, and then the SD card, you put the electrical connectors facing also upward. So let's see. No, let's try putting this one facing downward. There we go. So we got SD and micro SD, and then I'm going to use an USB 3.0 actual external flash drive. And then I'm going to use my own USB 3 to Lightning cable, because while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and charge my Apple AirPods Pro. So all of this is ready to go. Now we just need to do power. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the USB-C to USB-C cable, which is handily stuck on the top there. And we're going to do that as output. So then we're going to plug my power, and this is a 60 watt power going into my MacBook Pro. And we're going to plug that into the MacBook Pro, and let's just see. You can see by that tiny light, so now this is charging. All of this should now be accessible from my MacBook Pro, so let's open it up and see what we find. And let's see, we have everything looks like it's working fine. I find that it's a little picky with cables and connections. In fact, it's possible I've hooked this all up backwards. So let me switch the USB-C around and see if that works any better. Oh, no, hang on. I think everything maybe worked. Let's see. This is always the case when I'm doing demos. And this is, I think, a late production prototype. So the labels probably will be a little easier to understand. Let's just try switching this around. So I'm going to put the connection from the hub to my computer onto the side, and then we're going to actually do my power coming in from the edge. And now everything looks good. So now I can see that I have power coming into my computer, and all 3 of these devices have shown up on my desktop. Now, I want to show you that in the system profile, this is giving 60 watts to the hub, but the hub is only giving 53 watts to my computer. So it takes a few watts there to actually power the thing. That's kind of how these work. But 53 watts is plenty enough that it will charge. Obviously, it'll charge better if I just leave it closed, but I'm not going to do that because we're going to run a demo. So what I want to do is I want to switch to showing you what's on screen, and we'll just do some big file copy and paste between the different peripherals to see how fast they are. So let me switch things around. Okay, so the Akaso device is the micro SD, the Canon is the SD card, and the 64 gig is the flash drive. So let's open up the micro SD card, and have to warn you, I don't actually know what's on these, so who knows what will show up. But I'm going to go ahead, I have a 6 gigabyte file, and we'll just copy that and see how slow or fast a write is. So this is writing to the micro SD card, and you know, all of these little cards, you have to get the right specs to make sure you have it where it actually works at a good speed. So this might be a really slow card. So let's go ahead, and while that's copying, let's give it something else to do. I'm going to go and do the same thing onto the SD card, and this SD card should be faster, but I guess we'll find out very quickly. So I'll just copy this too. And hey, you can do 2 copies at the same time, right? Well, we'll find out. Let's see what happens. And it's thinking about the copy. Well, there we go. So now it's starting to copy to the SD card. That's the top one. And it's still copying along on the bottom to the micro SD. And this is again a 6 gigabyte file. Oh boy, about 15 minutes. And then let's just go to the very bottom to the flash drive, and we'll give it the same task. But this one we're going to do actually a copy to the computer. So I'm going to take this 3 gigabyte file and we'll just copy it to the desktop. And we're really just sort of maxing out the throughput on this device, but let's just see what happens for a couple of seconds. So that 3 gig is under a minute, which is not too bad. The file being copied to that SD card is not making me happy. And the micro SD card is also running really slowly. So let's actually just cancel the micro SD copy. And once we have the read finished up, which is copying from the flash drive through the OmniCase Pro to my MacBook Pro, now we just have the SD card happening here. And let's see if this picks up any speed on its throughput. And the answer is no, it kind of doesn't. So there you have it. You know, this is, I think, a great demo of the fact that you're still constrained by the speed of the actual devices you're using. So if I have a slower SD card, there's nothing the hub can do that'll magically speed it up. But if I had an ultra fast device, then at least theoretically, it should go through at a nice throughput rate. So let me jump back on camera. Well, that was kind of a disappointing demo, to be totally honest. I kind of hoped things would move a little faster. 6 gigabytes is fast, but it's not insanely fast. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but be that as it may, it's also possible that I'm just sort of doing an unfair demonstration, because are you really going to be writing multi-gig files to multiple devices simultaneously? So I'm going to go ahead and actually stop the copy, and we'll just sort of let this thing figure it out and slow down, because really what I really like about this is it just gives you flexibility, and that's really the name of the game with these hubs, right? So I can plug this into my computer and then I can run power through it, and then that gives me all these other ports. If I'm in a hotel that has Ethernet as an option, that's way faster than Wi-Fi. Plug in the Ethernet. You know, if I have HDMI and I have a cable and I have a TV right there, then why not plug it into that 60-inch TV and have a 4K signal that you can then push off of your computer directly? So you can have Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it is you enjoy watching, you can just push that out. You can do demos right there and you're at a trade show or something. And then of course the USB 3 is just super flexible. And really, to be completely honest, this is what really sells me on this. All these extra cables that are there just in a case of an emergency, so darn helpful. So what else can I tell you about this? So I've told you that it's a 7-in-1 with 4K HDMI, 100-watt power delivery or PD charging, 1 gig Ethernet, that the power, when I gave it 60 watts, it pushed 53 watts onto my computer. It does have built-in circuit protection against overcurrent, overvoltage, and overheating, which is great. And in total, the device, and I am just going to go ahead and pull this stuff out. Not recommended to not unmount it, but hey, whatever, right? This is just a demo. So This unit is 5 inches by 3 inches by a thickness of 1 inch, and it's really, really light. It feels like they forgot to put the circuitry inside. It's so light. And that's including having all the cables on it too. So they did a really nice job with that. Now, all of this is happening on Kickstarter, and I'm gonna just unplug it entirely. So this is on Kickstarter right now. At some point it will just be on their website, but I want to say that they have 4 different models available, and it's a little confusing to understand the differences, but this is the OmniCase Pro. Now, the OmniCase is the hub and cables. They have an OmniCase Mini, which has less plugs and it's a little smaller. And then they have their Urban Kit, and the Mini and the Pro are, again, smaller and larger form factors, but then what they do is they're sort of focused on the cables, and there's no hub involved. So look through, make sure you understand the differences, and do jump onto Kickstarter and follow this if this is something that seems like it would be a great option for you. And honestly, any road warrior should have this in their kit, because you are always going to get to the point where you say, oh heck, I've lost a cable. And now you haven't. Now they're all there. So let's talk about the pricing really quickly. But before we get to the pricing, I'm going to ask if you can subscribe to my channel. Just a click or a tap on that red subscribe button, and we're connected. Awesome. Great. Now, this is the OmniCase Pro from JSAUX, and on Kickstarter, super early bird, it's $59. They're suggesting that their final retail price will be $109. I'm going to suspect it's going to be a little less than that, but be that as it may, 59 bucks for this hub and set of cables and everything is a pretty sweet deal. Go on Kickstarter and search for OmniCase, and you'll find all of the options. If you missed that, then you can go from their Kickstarter page to the JSAUX website, and you can pick it up for yourself. That's all I got. I'm going to go back to charging up my computer, which means I'll catch you in my next video.